Working right. Doo doo doo. Okay, now you should be hearing me. Now you should be hearing me. Oh, spoilers for what we're covering today. All right, so welcome back, YouTube. We are here for our Thursday State of the Association address. And today we actually have some announcements. I forgot to announce them at the CRN. Tomorrow, which is Friday, the 31st, we're going to be having a event at the Mansfield. We're not having it. Mansfield Schools in here in Arkansas is having their health fair. So we're going to be there at the middle school at the health fair with them. Um, let me see. I believe there's an event on Monday, the 3rd, if I remember right. I believe it's with Teresa Levesque with At Girl Friday. So if you have At Girl Friday's information, you can get with her. It's about essential oils and things like that. And then on Saturday the 8th, we are going to be at the Witcherville Arbor Day Fest in Witcherville, Arkansas. That's going to be from about, probably about 9 to 2, somewhere around there. The health fair tomorrow is from about 9 to 2 as well. So 9 or 10 to 2. So you can pop in on those different events if you'd like to see us. We'll be covering mainly essential oils, but you can also, just ask general questions and things like that. So should be fun, should be interesting. And that's really all I have for announcements. So we can bounce right into where we started at on the video. Didn't realize we were starting there. On our actual topic today, which is Dear Science, and it comes from the Washington Post. It's Dear Science, why do we get allergies? What is the point of a runny nose? And this one should be interesting. I think we've had at least one other Washington Post one, so maybe this one will be good. But let's dive right in. It's from last year around September 6th. Rachel Feltman and Sarah Kaplan. All right. Dear Science, what is the biological advantage of a runny nose? Why did humans even evolve allergies in the first place? I have allergies and am constantly blowing and wiping my nose. Surely this trait should have dropped from our genome long ago. And here's what science has to say. So here's what it kind of goes with. And they've got littered throughout this article, they've got different hyperlinks to different responses that could be made or information that could be gleaned. So you can always check out those if you want to. But with the seasons shifting, you may notice new sniffles emerging thanks to certain pollens entering the air. You're not alone. Nearly one-third of the adult population suffers from allergies, according to some estimates, and the immune reactions are even more common among children. In fact, allergies are actually becoming more common, particularly in developed nations. I'll touch on this point later. A new study warns about the dangers of looming zombie apocalypse. Well, that's kind of I'm sure that was a fun article title for them. I don't even think that goes with this article. First, we'll answer the easy portion of your question. A runny nose, formerly known as rhinorrhea, occurs. A runny nose, formerly known as rhinorrhea, occurs when nasal passages produce excessive amounts of mucus. This can happen because it's cold. The cold air dries out your nasal cavity and your body overcompensates. I wouldn't say overcompensates, but yeah, it compensates for that dryness. Because you're crying, excess liquid from the tear ducts drains out into the nasal cavity, or because your immune system is responding to an invader. More on that in a second, it says. As extra mucus builds up in your nose, it makes it difficult to breathe, even can even leak its way into the sinuses or ear canal and cause irritation and infections there. It can also drop into the back of the throat, causing soft tissue to become sore. In other words, your stuffy nose is often the root cause of your other cold and allergy symptoms. Indeed. So why on earth do our bodies betray us? I quote, I know it's very uncomfortable for many people, but a lot of symptoms of colds and allergies are in a certain way protective. Dr. Kate Welch, a physician specializing in allergy and immunology at Weill Cornell Medicine and New York Presbyterian, told the Post. They help us to expel things, whether we're talking about a runny nose or a physical expulsion like sneezing or vomiting. So there's another one right here regarding snoring for that, for allergies and such. That leads us to the next part of your question, why allergies exist. Let's be real, allergies suck. An allergy, by its definition, is a body's reaction to a substance that most people can encounter without getting ill. Hundreds of millions of people in the United States will happily and safely chow down on peanut butter, for example, but 3 million individuals suffer everything from itchy hives to deadly throat swelling if they consume the wrong legume. They have a video here from PBS, which I'm not sure if this is sponsored or what, but it's I don't know. It doesn't specifically come to say. The scientific jury is still out on why exactly some people develop such severe allergies to seemingly harmless substances. In some cases, it's possible that, for whatever reason, the item isn't actually harmless to that individual. While telltale allergic reaction symptoms like swelling, itching, sneezing, and vomiting are definitely caused by the immune system, as opposed to being caused by the allergen itself, it's hard to determine what kind of ill effects a peanut or piece of shellfish might have on your body when, when you avoid it because of violent allergy. Another plug for themselves. But in most cases, allergies are likely just the result of an overeager immune system. Antibodies called immunoglobulin E, IgE, pop up with the sole purpose of triggering the release of histamine, a compound that inflames your tissues and causes leaky noses, among other things. Quote, the basic alarm mechanism is very helpful, but it's kind of a fine line between which ones help and which ones don't, Welch explained. Many experts believe that the overactive IgE is a holdover from immune responses that helped save our ancestors' lives. The molecules involved are quite similar to the ones that protect humans and other animals from venom and parasites. Perhaps when our species was a little more wild, we were exposed to more genuinely harmful pollen-like substances, making allergic reactions a real lifesaver. Another plug for themselves there. Answers your questions on evolution. Well, you know my opinions on evolution. I don't subscribe to that idea, but whatever. Quote, back in the day when we were hunter-gatherers, certain pollens or venoms may actually have been very dangerous to us, Welch said. So we had this mechanism to help us expel them. End quote. Even the annoyance of allergies might have an evolutionary benefit at one time. Quote, particularly uncomfortable responses might drive us out of the area, Welch said. It's like the immune system is saying, hey, get away from those bees. Evolution doesn't really care about how you feel about the symptoms, she added. Okay, so they're putting a lot of I'll address it when we get to the end of the article, but they're putting a lot of stock in this idea that it's evolved over millions of years, or at least thousands of years. Over time, these responses, which worked so well that they kept kicking around the gene pool, got exaggerated, and then, at least according to some hypotheses, our relatively quick cultural evolution left IgE desperate for an outlet. Another plug for themselves. The thought is that when we became a cleaner society, we're not out trudging through the mud and foraging, and what's and it wants to push this response somewhere, Welch said. That's the thinking behind the so-called hygiene hypothesis, the popular and fairly well supported notion that exposing kids to lots of germs and allergens early in life can help them develop fewer allergies. Give that immune system something to do, kid. It's possible that IgE found its creative outlet in the form of pollens that res- and foods that resemble old toxins on the molecular level. Lots of people with pollen allergies get itchy mouths when they eat certain foods, which seems to welch like an indication that biological wires are getting crossed. Even with all this miss and overfiring, the immune system's histamine responses still serve a purpose every once in a while. After all, you want all the bo- you want to have, or you want to have a body that rejects genuinely harmful substances. So scientists would never try to get rid of allergic reactions across the board. Quote, it's nice to have an alarm system, but if we can dampen it down when it's not actually dangerous, that would be great, end quote, Welch said. But the underlying point is that all of these uncomfortable mechanisms do serve a purpose. It serves some role. Make it just doesn't make us very comfortable. End quote. Okay. And then they say you can ask your question here. So with this, um, I find uh, it's very mainstream in its reasoning, in its ideas. It's very much allelopathic in how it understands allergies, because it goes completely with the evolutionary standpoint of these things evolved over time. Um, I'm not going to get into the evolution discussion. I don't agree with it, simply because I don't find it supported as well as they think it's supported. But that's beside the point. The point is about allergies. And regarding the allergies, this is actually a fair article. It does bring up the IgE and the histamine responses and those being a thing. I don't. I would have liked for it to have brought up the point that these things kick around in the genetic gene pool because of how we behave, and they change like that. You can change your genetics super fast. You can turn on and off your genes to a large degree, a larger degree than is given credit for by most allopathic medicine doctors. Um, so the idea that it's all your body's fault is kind of a misnomer. Now, there is the idea that the body gets bored. The body can get bored in the sense that it's going to look for things to fix, which is what they mentioned with the hygiene hypothesis, and that's very, very true. It doesn't address the idea of those that are born with peanut allergies or things like that, but it does address those that have just average old pollen allergies. Um, the main thing is, I do want to pick up on something very true that they hit on, and that was that it doesn't matter if you're comfortable, it matters if you're surviving, or that's how your body looks at it anyway. Your body doesn't care if you're comfortable. It doesn't really care if you like how you feel. It cares about the fact that you can feel. So when your body is, when you're having a hard time with your body, or it's discomfort or something like that, just remember that it doesn't care how you feel. It cares whether you can feel. It cares that you're surviving. It's not about if you can. It's not about if you feel comfortable, but if you can feel any comfort at all. So um, it doesn't care about it to the long term. Your body doesn't care about a year from now. It doesn't care about a month from now. It doesn't care about a week from now. It doesn't care about a day from now. It doesn't care about an hour from now. It cares about what's happening right now, and it will keep your body running as long as it can right now. Right now. That is the job of your autonomic system. And your allergies would fall under genetically programmed autonomic responses. Now, like we talked about, like we mentioned, you can change your genetic responses, and some people can change it very effectively through just their thought practices, but some people need a little help, and that's where I think the hygiene hypothesis, the introduction of things for the body to deal with and live the way our bodies were designed to live. Our bodies are designed to do things. The more domesticated we get, and it doesn't really matter, you can look in any of these, the more domesticated you get, the more problems you have with what might be called first world discomfort or first world diseases. Cancer is more of a first and second world disease than it is a third world. There are other things in the third world that, as far as diseases, that can be a problem. But in general, there's not as much cancer as there is in first and second world. In the same sense, there's not going to be nearly as many allergies in the first and in the third world as there would be in the first world or in the second world countries. That's a big that is a correlation. Um, it's not a sole cause, but it is um, a correlative effect, you might say. It has an effect on the results of that information. So if you're in America and you're wanting to improve your allergies in some way, don't bore your system. Also, give it the things that it needs. A lot of the times we'll develop allergies because we don't have certain things we need, or we've developed allergies, or we don't even have an allergy, we just get a runny nose and we think it's an allergy, that we're allergic to something. Now, when you go into the genetic programmings for, like they mentioned, a hypersensitivity to peanuts or other things that don't damage the body, that can have a lot of factors going into it. Some people that are allergic to peanuts aren't necessarily allergic to peanuts, but the way the peanuts were grown or harvested. There can be hypersensitivities there instead of actually in the peanut, and your body just associates it with all peanuts because your body's dealing with that. Also, those people that are born with allergies you have to take into the account the fact of the mother's genetics and her predispositions and how she's feeling and would feel, because her genetics will directly influence the child's genetics as well as the father's genetics too, because of the sperm that are formed by him during those time periods that he's either under great stress or not under any stress at all. So those are big things to understand. It's a it's I would say that this article is pretty fair. I would give it I'd say it's on par with just your regular understanding of information. Just a regular thing you'd find in a book, a textbook, or something like that. I don't find it very insightful. I just find it, uh, I don't know, it's lackluster for what I would hope for, in the sense of I would have liked it to have seen more in the understanding of how thoughts are going to end up affecting those predispositions. But again, I can't really expect that of allopathic medicine or even allopathic articles like this one. So I can't say I'm disappointed. It's basically what I expected from a Washington Post article. Um, Heavy influence on evolutionary stuff and things that you can't change that are going to be the problem. It's always something else that is the problem. It's never something that you can control, or rarely is it something that you can do that that people start to talk about. So I don't like it because it doesn't have a lot of personal responsibility in the sense of understanding the article. So and the way it's presented. But other than that, it's on par with what I would expect from an allopathic publication or a Western publication, to be more uh, in line with what I'm trying to say. But that's the article. Hopefully, you liked what we talked about. You got some information about it. If you're having some trouble with your own with your own allergies and stuff, you can always try some lemon, lime, and peppermint. A lot of people find that supports their body's ability to work through any kind of discomforts they're having in those areas. But again, that's totally up to you. And I think that's about it. Yeah. So that's everything for today. I hope you've had a great time watching. We've had a great time. We've had a nice time telling you about the article and going over it with you. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, or observations, you can always go to these portions right here. Contact us through them to figure out if there's anything that you want to ask, or if there's anything you want to have us cover or things like that. We're willing to take that feedback. And I think that's it. So, as always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.